Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today we're going to be servicing a Volkswagen Golf, and it's a 1.6 litre engine, and this is a 2008 car, so this is a Golf Mk5. So we're going to be changing over the oil and the oil filter, we're going to be changing over the 4 spark plugs, we're going to be doing the air filter and also the cabin, the pollen filter as well. So now we're not mechanics, but hopefully this job should be straightforward enough. Okay, we're on a very slight slope here, so we've put it on some engineering bricks which will also give us more access to get under to undo the sump plug to get the oil out. I've put a jack this side and also a jack the other side as well. There, so just in case anything was to happen to the bricks, which is not going to, the jack's there as well. This is a UK car, so that's why the steering wheel's on the right hand side and the bonnet release is just down here, so we need to pull it. This one's quite stiff, we're going to have to grease it up, but there we go. Put it towards you and it releases the bonnet. Just underneath here there's a little tab just here that you just need to pull up, and on this particular car the engine will stay open, there's no stay. So to begin with we're going to remove this cover here, and that will give us access to the spark plugs and also the air filter as well. So to begin with we're going to remove these 2 connections here. We have one here and then we have one just behind it here as well. This one's really awkward to get to. So let's start with the easiest one first. We need to squeeze it on the top and the bottom and then pull it out this way. There we go. And now this one here is a lot harder. You need to get a very small screwdriver and you need to put it in to this part here, and you need to lever it down. Put it into here and lever downwards, and then you can pull it out. It will make more sense when it actually comes off. Right, okay, so if you have a look now on here, let me just focus in 1 second. Right, can you see now that there's a little retaining tab there, and that's why you need to lift the plastic over that tab there. And this is what it looks like when it comes off. You can see it's been quite chewed up. Now we're going to remove this air filter intake here, and we're just going to undo it from here, here, side here and the side here, and it should push this way into the car. There we go, so that's free. And now this should lift up from each corner. So we just need to use a little bit of strength. And now the whole thing will lift outwards. And it allows us access to, for example, the air filter. And then you've got your oil filter, spark plugs, etc. Right, now that we've got the cover off, we're going to undo the filler cap here. And we're going to start draining the oil. And we can be working on other bits while the oil is draining out. So let's undo that filler cap. And now let's get under the car and undo the sump plug. Right, so let's get under the car. It's going to be hard to film this now, but if you have a look, it is, if you could just touch, there we go, it's this one here. So I'm just going to get a different angle now, so just to give you an example of where it is. Right, let me reposition myself. Right, so we have an old container to collect the oil and some old rags as well, because when we undo that sump plug the oil is going to fly out. Right, so we've got the tray in position, and it's a 19mm spanner that we need on this one, and we're going to go counterclockwise, so to the left. Here it goes. There you go, you can see it's flying out. So now we can just leave that and we can get on with the other jobs that need doing, and then hopefully after a good 15 or so minutes it will all be out. That is the sump plug out, and as you can see it's got a little washer around it there. So it's good practice to change the washer at the same time, because if you don't change it there is a chance, a slim chance, that it can cause a drip leak and it will ruin your driveway. So now the oil's draining out, let's take out the oil filter, which is here. So we're going to need a 32mm socket to undo this, and we're going to turn it counterclockwise again to undo it. And you can see there it actually tells us to do it up, we need to do it to 25 Newton meters. So let's undo it. Now we've got an old rag here, because when we pull this out, it's like a paper filter. When we pull it out, oil will drip out the bottom of it. But we've got a container over there to catch it in. There we go. Right, so we're just going to let that drip away for a little bit, and now we're going to bring this somewhere else and we're going to change the filter over. This is our new filter here. Okay, and we have an O-ring there as well. So what we have to do is make a mental note of where the O-ring is. So if we take this out now, the O-ring is located just here. Okay, this one here. And if you work your way around, hopefully you will see a little notch to make it nice and easy to take out. There we go. It's just covered in oil, but if you look at it there. So now all we have to do is pull that out, and we're going to put the new one on. Okay, so let's get the new one. Now it's best to wear gloves just so you don't get any oil on your hands. Now you want to be careful, you don't want to pierce this or cut this. And put it in the same groove that the other one came out on. It's kind of easy here, it looks like it only fits nicely in one groove. Right, so now we have to take out the old filter, which just basically involves pulling it out. Yeah, and now we're going to put the filter in there, and you can see the way it goes round because we have the big hole at the bottom. So the top hole goes up the top, the smaller hole up the top. And that's it. Now just give it a nice good clean because it's going to be covered in oil everywhere. And now it's just a case of screwing it back into the car. Right, so we're going to screw this gently back in. We're just going to do it hand tight, and then when we're almost there, we're going to get the torque wrench and just put it up to 25 Newton meters. Now if you haven't got a torque wrench, what I normally do is I put it on hand tight, and then I just give it a bit of a turn just to nip it up. It doesn't need to be really, really tight. Okay, so we're set to 25 here, so let's pop it on here, and it will give when it gets to that. There we go, simple as that. So you can see that it doesn't actually need to be very tight at all. Doing the air filter next. Now this is just the cover that you've seen us take off earlier. It's on its front, so we've got to the behinds. Now we're going to undo a screw here, here, 1, 2, 3 here, and 2 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws all together. So all the screws are now undone, so what it's going to do now is going to pivot up this way. So if you have a look, nice and easy, pivot up, and there you have the air filter inside.
Which is in very good condition.
So we're just going to give this a little bit of a clean out, and then we're going to put the new filter in. Right, so we're giving it a little bit of a clean out, and now we're just going to pop the new filter in. So make sure it's sealed all the way around the edges. And now we're going to put it in just a reverse of how we took it out. So pivot it from that side. Because there's 3 little tabs, you see, tab here, and tab here. And now we need to do up all 7 screws again. So that is the air filter done. Now we're going to concentrate on the spark plugs. Okay, so we need to remove these coil packs. So a specialist tool's needed, but we're just going to use a screwdriver. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting it and we're going to be levering it under these bits here. So you can either go that side or that side. So if you have a look closely in here, you can just see I'm moving the screwdriver in here, and then I'm just going to lever down, and you can see it's moving up. There we go, and now that is free. Right, now to remove this, it's really very awkward. I'm going to show you it after I've taken it off, but there's a little catch underneath that you can't see at the moment that I'm moving out with my finger, and then I'm going to slide that out like that, and that is the catch we're talking about there underneath. So if you have a look, that's what it's like when it's in. You need to get your finger to move this catch out this way. Just, it only moves about 1 millimeter, and that allows you to wiggle It's hard, let me do it with my finger. There we go. There you go. And it allows you to move this off that one there. And then it gives us access to the spark plug right the way in there. So we just need to do exactly the same on all the other three. If you find that you haven't got enough room, because some of them are very tight, like this end one here, you can actually undo some of these clips and that will give you a little bit more access. So for example, if you leave that out there, you can undo the clips to take the wires out. But let me just show you it. This one here, so we'll just lever it out again. Finger underneath, and oh, this is hard. Hold on, it's because there's so little room. There you go. Very fiddly job to do. Okay, so we're just going to do the other two now. Okay, all the coil packs are now off and I've just got them in order across there. And now we're just going to take out the spark plug. So we've got our spark plug spanner, we're just going to put it in there and we're going to turn it counterclockwise. And out comes one of them, and again you can see it's a lovely colour, sort of beigey brown. So now we're going to do exactly the same for the other three. Now we've got the new spark plug in here and we're going to put it in very gently so we don't cross thread it. So we're just going to drop it in and we're just going to turn it very gently just to make sure it's going in nicely, and then when we're sure that it's bit on it we can then put it all the way in. So if you feel that it's not going in nice or there's too much resistance, take it out and start again because you don't want to cross thread it. There we go, and just nip it up, and now we're going to do exactly the same on the other three. Right, now this one here has been put on really tight and it's not coming undone, so we're going to give it a little bit more leverage on it. Something's wrong, that's something wrong. Fortunately, we just can't get the grip on such a small bit there, so we're using a large one, and then we can also extend that as well if needed. There we go. Yeah, see, sometimes you just need a little bit of leverage, not more strength, just more leverage to be able to do it. Don't put it in with this. And then when you're putting the spark plugs in, that's why it's good to use something like this, so you don't put too much, you don't over tighten them. There we go, we got it out. Got it out. So that is all the spark plugs out and back in again, and now we need to put the coil packs in and connect them all up. And they just push down into place. Okay, so that is them all done. So now we have to put the oil sump plug back in and we need to fill her up with oil. So have a look in the trusty Haynes manual. Our car here is a 1.6 litre FSI and it says here it's only 3.6 litres, which is seems tiny, but that's what it says here. And also when we bought the oil, normally they come in a 5 litre container, but this is a 4 litre container, so that says to me that it definitely is 3.6 litres. Right, so we're back underneath the car now and you can still see it just dripping away just here. So let's pop this plug back into it. And now we're going to use the 19mm spanner to do it up. And remember, this time you're going to be going clockwise to do it up. Now don't go crazy on it, again just nip it up tight enough so it doesn't leak. Right, that's that done. So now we're going to fill it up with the 3.6. Well, we're going to probably put in about maybe 3.4 litres and then see where it comes on a dipstick, and then we can always add a little bit more to it. Now, rather than relying on the gauge at the side there, because we want to put in 3.4 litres, I'm just going to decant it into here 1 litre at a time. So we're just using the funnel into this part here, and we're just going to pour in 3.4 litres.
It doesn't brim over.
Have to pour it in quite slowly because it goes in quite slow. Otherwise it will overflow.
It's just very shallow.
Yeah. So that's the 3.4 litres of oil in there. We're now going to look at the cabin filter. Right, the pollen filter is located just under the glove box here. So we're going to go down. It's going to be hard to see now. If you look here, we've got to undo this one here. All the way undone. And also there's one more under here as well. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out from here. And as you can see, it just all comes away. And now if you have a look here at the back, this is where it is housed. Right, and what we have to do now is we're going to have to slide it. If you watch this now, we're going to slide it this way. And then that will drop down. And now we can pull out the old pollen filter. And that's the way it goes. Can you see here with that angled bit there? So I'm just going to leave it there so I can remember which way to put the new one back in. Here's a nice new pollen filter, and if you have a look down the bottom, it has actually got cutouts, and they're the cutouts that correspond to these bits here. So let's put it up into place, and then we can slide the bottom bit on. There we go. Can you see now? It's in place there. So we're going to get this, and it will go into the cutouts like so. And then we just need to slide it over to that side there. Make sure it's all the way over, which it is, and now that is in place, and that's the cabin filter changed over, nice and easy. And now we just have to put the cover back on and those little thumb screws as well. So just put it there, the writing is actually at the bottom. So it's on display. All right, I'm just going to have to put the camera down for this so I can get it all into place, and then I'll show you. So I'm just tucking the front edge in. If you look here, just tucking this in as I go along. Right, so that's it all back in place now, and now I need to put the 2 thumb screws back in here and also across here as well. Right, they're back in their home now, and everything is back up where it should be. So that is the cabin filter done. Now, before we put the cover back on, we've just checked the brake fluid there to make sure that there's enough in there, which there is, and now we're going to pop the cover on. It's very hard to get to that brake fluid when the cover is actually on. So this is just basically going to go on here. Can you see there's these little ones here, here, and they go onto these rubber things here. So they just locate on there, and it's just pushed down. Back in place now, and remember you've got to redo all the connections again. So that's one there, there's another one that goes behind it there, and this one here. Okay, so that's in there. We're now going to put the oil filler cap back on. I'm just going to do this connection down here in the corner. There we go. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to let the car run for a little bit just to get the oil around the oil filter. Then we're going to turn it off, let it all settle again, and take a reading on the dipstick. Now, just before firing it up, we're just going to go around and do the various checks. So with this one now, it is actually low on coolant because you can see it's gone underneath the minimum mark. So we're going to put some coolant in, check the windscreen washer fluid here, and just have a general check around the place. Look at the hoses and stuff like that. Look to see if they look intact, see if there's any splits or anything on them, and just give a visual check. In the UK we have an MOT once a year anyway, and that does the major safety checks on, for example, you know, like the bearings and the ball joints and stuff like that, suspension components, etc. Okay, so we're low on this. The stuff in here is the pink stuff, and that is the stuff we're adding to it.
That's all right now. I think that's the max line there. One's got to be min, one's got to be max, surely. It's a little bit over, I think.
Yeah, the min is pointing to the bottom one.
This will do this as well, while I'm at it. Put some stuff in there.
So just topping up a little bit of the washer fluid. I'm going to put a bit of this in and then add some normal water to it as well. Right, now we're going to add some water. There we go. Right, okay, so I'm out of gear. Let's fire her up. There we go, and the coolant symbol's gone off up there as well. So I'm just going to let that run for a few minutes. And just to free up the bonnet release catch, we're just putting a bit of spray in there, and also a bit of oil down in here as well. So 3-in-1 oil was put in there earlier. Should free it up a bit. And now look how easy it is now. Watch this. And that's what it should be like. Okay, so we're just going to check the level on the dipstick now. So we're going to take it out, clean it, put it back in. And we've moved the car onto a flat surface because it wasn't completely flat before. Right, okay, so as you can see, the oil level is just, you see these squares here, so we're just there. So do you know what, I think we're going to add the rest of the 0.2 of the litre in, and that's probably going to bring it up to around here, which will be halfway. I'm not going to bother filming that because it's exactly the same process as before. So now what we're going to do is put this back in, and let's reset the service interval inside the car. Okay, now we need to reset the service interval. So I've got the key in the ignition, I'm going to turn it on, and you will see in a few seconds it will say service now, because we're overdue. And this is how we're going to reset that. So we're going to hold this button down here, and then we're going to keep it held down while turning on the ignition. Then when the ignition's on, we're going to release this, and then we're going to go over and we're going to hold down the minute button. That should then reset the service interval. So let's give it a go. So holding this button down and turning on the ignition, and then letting go of this button, going over to the minute button and holding it down. Okay, now I'm going to release that, and now let's turn off the ignition and see if that service thing has gone. So key back in, turn it on, and there you go, back to normal again. So there we go, nice and easy to do. And the service was relatively straightforward. The hardest bit there was doing the coil packs. But now that it's been done once, and now that you've seen it in the video, if you come to do it yourself, you will find it's a lot easier. Now, obviously, it's much better if you do bring your car to Volkswagen. It's just the price that they charge. They will do more checks. But as the car gets older, then sometimes you can end up spending as much on the service as the car is worth. So that's why often I do like to do the services myself, and so does my brother as well. So if you have liked this video, appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe for more how-to videos. Take care, bye now.